Hi, this is Southampton Town Supervisor, and welcome to another edition of Talk of the Town. In this show, we're going to take a look at remote learning. We're going to be joined by our Hampton Bays School Superintendent, Lars Clemensen, and we're going to talk about some of the issues facing the Hampton Bays community, and in particular, how the schools have had to adapt to the coronavirus pandemic. So Lars, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I hope all in your family and all in the town government are healthy and staying that way.
Appreciate that. The same to you. I hope you have a baby at home?
I do. So homeschooling is alive and well in my house. My wife's a music teacher, so it's loud in certain parts of my house as well. And we're all here learning and teaching and making our way.
How old now is your kid?
He's 4.
4.
He's 4, and his new favorite thing to do is to turn on the 11:30 press conference from the governor, and we have a big discussion on what color tie he might be wearing that day.
So he must be happy to get to see his dad more than usual, I'm sure. Yeah. But no, yep. But his mom is a essential worker, a healthcare worker, you said, right?
My wife's a music teacher, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep, she's in the East Quogue School District, and so she's connecting with her music students, still doing recorder lessons. I'm not sure if all the parents love that, but still connecting with kids every single day as well.
Oh, that's great. So both of you are around the house, which is good.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's good, but not for a great reason, though. This pandemic has been brutal. I see, Hampton Bays has more positive tests than anywhere else in the town, but it also has more population than anywhere else in the town. I think the number of confirmed cases there at the moment is 82. And there's roughly 300, 350 town-wide. Some areas have higher incidence rates than we do, but we certainly have our share of the coronavirus here, and it's caused all kinds of changes to the way government functions and the way the schools function. And the schools were one of the first institutions to shut down. Is that right, when this first came about?
It was. So Saturday, March 14th, we made the decision to close for a week. At that point, there were incidental closures going on throughout the county, throughout Southampton town. And the superintendents, connected over the weekend because at that point in the pandemic, the incidental closures weren't making much sense anymore. Because we're so interconnected that if Riverhead closed for a day to do some deep cleaning, but Hampton Bays was open, maybe all of that was undone the next day, or Sag Harbor was closed, but Southampton was open. So we made the concerted effort on the 14th to close for the week. By Sunday, the county executive had put an order in to close for 2 weeks, and by Monday, the 16th, Governor Cuomo had said, effective the 18th of March, that we'd be closed for 2 weeks, and then we continue to revisit that. And as of yesterday, Governor Cuomo indicated that he's going to keep the schools closed through at least Friday night.
And what do you think? You think the kids will be coming back this season, or not till the fall?
I don't know. It's hard to imagine how you can social distance on a school bus or in a cafeteria or in a classroom, a restaurant that can open at 20% capacity and, just run those tables. I could see that. I think we're all trying to wrap our head around possibly being out for the rest of the year, what that means academically, what that means social, emotionally.
The rest of the school year, hopefully not the rest of the calendar year. So.
Oh, I hope so.
I guess that's always a possibility too, that the fall semester won't be able to start up. But let's hope that that's not the case. Right. But I think there is a good possibility that they won't be able to come back in May. And when this school year ends, what, mid-June?
June 26th is the scheduled date for commencement. Yeah.
And did the state did something with the regents?
Yeah, so regents exams are canceled. My administrators were on we live on Zoom now, so they were on a Zoom meeting this morning with the state education department, talking through what that means. So kids will not have to take the regents exam in order to get the credit for the course that they normally would have, like U.S. history or living environment. So long as that we are executing our continuity of learning plans, we can give credit in those courses. And so our teachers are working now, and they don't have the the specter, I guess, of the Regents exam looming at the end of June.
What about the other standardized tests that the kids often take, SATs, ACTs, those kinds of things?
So so AP exams
Yeah.
are going to be taken at home now. What was a 3-hour administration in a sealed environment is now going to be a 45-minute assessment using a number of different approaches that the College Board is pushing, including, the teacher looking at the work that was submitted to determine whether or not it was, consistent with the work that the student had done during the year when we were together. SATs, right now are canceled. We were supposed to have an SAT administration at Hampton Bays High School in 2 weeks. We're going to push to August for that, and we're hoping we'll be able to administer then. The 3 to 8 assessments at the elementary and middle school, those were canceled this month as well. So the State Education Department and the Board of Regents have been extremely flexible and accommodating to school districts, so long as we put a plan in place that documents how we're teaching kids, how we're reaching them, how we're serving their needs. They're looking at the requirements and the regulations in a real accommodating way.
Now, classes, though, aren't canceled. They don't come to the classroom, but the teachers, I guess, are learning to teach to the student within their own home somehow. How is that working?
So it looks different in every classroom and in every subject. And you got to get your head around how ceramics would work, for example. Then you have teachers Zooming live lessons. You have teachers posting in what's called the Google Classroom, and posting assignments and then making themselves available 2 hours a day for office hours, where they can check in and Zoom with the teacher, or we have a text message system that's secure, where they can text back and forth and keep a record there of how they're supporting kids, and or email. So that there's lots of ways that teachers are connecting with kids. It's not traditional school. It's not just doing school, what was once school in school, now doing it at home. It's not. And so our teachers are working tremendously hard to make the learning experiences authentic, to put eyes on kids and let kids see the teacher. There's something special about that. We know that, the rapport that a kid has with a teacher. And to check in on their wellness, to make sure they're healthy, first of all. We've had some instances where either kids were sick or parents were sick, and that changes the whole dynamic in the house. All of a sudden, algebra homework is not the priority anymore. I'm thinking of my wife who's teaching elementary school kids music education while still trying to teach my 4-year-old while I'm working to manage the Hampton Bays School District. And we're in a fortunate situation. So, we've built our plan to be flexible. So it's not kids sitting in front of a computer from first period to 9th period in the day. They can do their work as it's flexible for them. Teachers are following up with the kids, but certainly everybody's putting in the hours and putting in the work to get it done. I'm proud of my faculty.
I could see it would be easier to teach a 12th grader using a computer than a first grader, right? So that's got to be more complicated with these younger kids too, to sit them in front of that laptop and engage them. And they're very much hands-on learners at that point. Though they're used to, I guess they're used to computers already by that age.
They're familiar with it. But 2 months ago, we were all wringing our hands saying, too much screen time, too much screen time.
Oh, and now it's all screen time.
Right, and now it's all screen time. So, our PE teachers are putting out challenges.
Yeah, what do you do? Because the schools are so important for physical fitness and exercise. And how are your gym teachers doing this?
Yeah, so they're posting videos where they're doing exercises out in their backyard and encouraging kids to do the same. We're using social media like never before. So we're asking families to, if they feel comfortable, post a picture of their family doing a walk around the neighborhood, or jumping jacks or push-ups in the backyard. So our PE teachers are focused on, that physical wellness and the mental wellness as well, eating healthy, taking time for meditation or mindfulness. Everybody's really approaching this with an approach of innovation. So coming up with a great idea and trying it. It's evolving every day.
And do you have the tech support for the teachers and for the students?
Yeah, we're all learning. I teach at the graduate level in person. And the last time I taught in a classroom, I had an overhead projector. That was my technology. And so when we went into closure, we all had to learn. And so it put me in a position to have to learn what I'm asking our teachers to do. So our tech support is fantastic. And I'm speaking for Hampton Bays, but I know my colleagues in Southampton Town. We're talking every single day. And across the board, from the eastern border to the western border in Eastport, our colleagues are all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction.
They all have
teachers and staff are working really
Lars,
hard.
can I ask whether the kids all have internet connectivity, and do they have devices that that they can get online with and participate?
It's a mixed bag. So some school districts had one-to-one initiatives. We had a one-to-one initiative in grades 4 through 12. So every student had a Chromebook. But we've been working to use extra devices to now move backwards and give it to 3, 2, 1 in kindergarten. Organizations like OLA and Minerva Perez's group has put a considerable amount of investment into schools to provide Chromebooks for those kids who don't have them. Wi-Fi access is a challenge. So we had some families who started the closure without Wi-Fi, impoverished families. We've been able to secure some of them hotspots. But as the closure goes on and families have been on either work slowdowns or work stoppages, families are needing to make difficult decisions between keeping their cable and their Wi-Fi and putting food on their table. And so, we're checking in with families every week and seeing and understanding that the need is getting great. And it's getting greater with the day. So Wi-Fi it's not a silver bullet and it's not consistent. So teachers are providing packets. We're delivering them on the school buses with our meals for families who need them. We're mailing them. We're trying to, by hook or crook, make sure kids are getting the materials and that we can connect.
Now, you mentioned putting food on the table. I know Hampton Bays has quite a number of free and reduced lunch kits. You provide meals typically when school is in session to an awful lot of kids, free of charge, right? Or at a reduced cost. So
yeah, about 62% of our kids receive free or reduced price lunch. We did receive a waiver from the New York State Education Department where we can provide meals, breakfast and lunch to any student, age 0 to 18, who is connected to the Hampton Bays School District free of charge. So right now, not just free or reduced lunch kids would get.
Oh, okay. All right, so you don't stigmatize the kids so that everybody basically looks the same during the school day.
Right, and you tally, and all we do is keep a tally, and then there's a federal reimbursement through the Federal Child Nutrition Program.
That's great. But now those kids aren't at the school, and they still need to eat. So what efforts is the school making to make sure that these kids are still getting a nutritious meal?
Yep, so from Friday of last week to today, we run our food service from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. every day. So in 1 week's time, Friday to Friday, we prepared 10,072 meals to approximately 500 kids a day. And you can get those meals in one of two ways. You can drive up to the middle school, pull into the bus loop, and you receive a pack, which is essentially today's lunch and tomorrow's breakfast. And then you come back again tomorrow. On Friday, you get 3 packs to get through Saturday and Sunday as well. For families who can't get to the school, we pulled the buses out of the garage. So our partners at Montauk Bus, they serve a lot of the Southampton school districts. There's a couple of other vendors, and some districts have their own fleet as well. We're all in a similar boat. So we're running those buses to families' houses, and the bus drivers or matrons on the bus are getting out and providing the meals right on the doorstep. It serves a twofold function. We are going to open up at some point, and we want to make sure that the bus company is still there. So we're keeping people out of the unemployment system for those who need it, and we're keeping the bus company employed and those buses running at a reduced rate, but we're serving the need twofold there, the bus company and getting food to people's houses.
Have you had to take any special precautions in terms of making sure everything is sanitary and that this virus isn't spreading through this
Yeah, the
process?
essential workers, and I know and I know they're invaluable on your team at the town as well. Um, our essential workers, our food service workers, our custodians, they're taking tremendous efforts and working extremely hard to disinfect, to sanitize, to make sure the spaces are clean and safe, and making sure that they're safe too. Gloves,
Sure.
masks, eye protection. But certainly everything moves a little slower because you have to be more careful.
Mm. What are some of the other ways this is affecting education, this through this pandemic? Are there any other changes you're seeing or differences in your daily life
Sure.
because of the pandemic?
So think about our class of 2020, our seniors. You know, they were supposed to be last night. We were supposed to induct 25 of them into the National Honor Society. Prom is coming up. The senior trip is coming up. Senior cut day is coming up. Not that we want to talk about that, but all of those milestone experiences that are life memories, that are part of the experience of going to school, they're all on ice right now. And you know, I think about that every day. What our kids are getting during the closure, and our administrative team, our Board of Education has been phenomenal, putting students first in their decision making, and you know, trying to come up with creative ways to still recognize our kids and provide for some of these experiences when we're back to school again. You know, if we don't come back to school until September, our kids missed a prom, you know, and they're going to go off to school, but maybe there's an opportunity for us to have a reunion prom in December, host it at school, cater it with local restaurants who will be getting up and running and support the local business, and give our kids an opportunity to reunite and have a dance for a night. So no ideas are bad ones right now, but we're very mindful of those things. Uh, the social emotional health of our kids, so super important. Every single week we make a contact with every
Wow.
single student. So every staff member has been assigned between 10 and 15 kids, and throughout the week they're making those calls to get a voice, see them perhaps, and we fill out a form for every kid through the internet where we can watch the data. Are you supervised? Is someone at home? And if not, we can help with childcare. Are you healthy? Do you have food? Do you have access to technology and the instruction? And are there any other needs that you have? So our counselors, our social
So
workers, our
important.
psychologists have been working with our neediest kids who struggle in the best of circumstances. So we're worried about that, the mental health of our
So
kids,
important.
where school was a positive
I
outlet.
imagine some of these kids, their parents, maybe both mom and dad, if there's a two-parent household, are essential workers. So they've got it. Maybe they're in the medical profession, or maybe a police officer, whatever it might be. Tell me about, is the school working? You mentioned something about daycare or
Yeah.
child supervision. What are you doing? How do you
Yeah,
manage that?
so the last thing we want to do is add a burden to any of our frontline people helping us through this pandemic. So you think about our families who work at Peconic Bay or Stony Brook Southampton Hospital, and the last thing they need to worry about is my child taken care of while I am fighting this pandemic for the community. So, in partnership with Scope Education Services, Hampton Bays Elementary School is a site for childcare. So it runs from 7 in the morning till 6:30 at night. We have the capacity for 60 children, ages 4 through 6th grade. And there is still some capacity. It's free. The region school districts are supporting that. And it's not just open to Hampton Bays. We have some East Quogue families who drop their kids as they're heading to Southampton Hospital. We want to make sure that that's the last thing on their mind, worrying about the health and safety of their own kids. They're supervised by OCFS certified childcare workers through Scope Education Services. They're given productive activities to do throughout the day. They're given healthy meals, and they conduct health checks every morning. So we take their temperature. We're very careful about making sure that the kids are healthy as well. So the Child Care Center of the Hamptons has lots of services for families with babies age 0 to 4. We're not set up for that, so that service runs through Child Care Center of the Hamptons.
So now those kids who have a parent or two parents that are essential employees, there's a paycheck involved, which is good. But there's a lot of kids whose parents are probably both out of work. There's so many people right now who are unemployed because of this pandemic, and the fact that, you know, construction trades have been shut down, retail has been shut down, so many things have been shut down. Um, that's got to, you know, you mentioned mental health issues. That's certainly going to be an impact in those homes when people feel that they don't have enough money to put food on the table or pay the rent. I know there's been a lot of efforts now to raise money for the food pantries, which is really so important, that people who feel they can't put food on the table, at least will get that. But there's been some efforts to stop foreclosures, stop evictions. And I know you've been working in trying to get the message out to some people who may be fearful if they can't pay the rent, and think that they might get thrown out. I know you've been doing some messaging both in English and Spanish, and working with our code enforcement director, Ryan Murphy, on that. Can you talk a little bit about those efforts?
Yep, Ryan's been fantastic, and it's great to work with him. Talk about coming into a role and getting into the deep end of the pool for emergency services. So he's been extremely responsive. We were concerned, and it first reared its head right around March 30th and 31st because rent is due. And by that point, some of our families had been out of work for 2 weeks. And we saw we had incidental stories of families either being evicted or utilities shut off, sort of as a strong arm to get money. And so getting the message out through code enforcement, through the sheriff's office, who has stopped evictions through at least June, and through OLA has been helpful, so that when we hear from a family, do you have housing? Do you have a shelter? And they say, no, we're really worried about that. We can provide them with the information that they need to say, you can stay in your home right now. We'll sort out the details later with rent and your landlord, but you don't have to, you cannot be pushed from your home. That's the last thing on your mind.
So it's illegal at the moment, isn't it, to shut somebody's power off?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. National Grid, PSE&G are all, they've stopped their shutdowns.
They're required to provide those services, even if not compensated, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, at the moment. Yeah, which
so
is great.
The community, you know, and just a word on the community food pantries. You know, they're staffed by volunteers and they're stocked by volunteers' donations. They've been so helpful. There's a community food pantry at Hampton Bays. Hampton Bays is St. Rosalie's Parish. It serves the entire community, not just the parish. Long Island Cares, who also has an office in Hampton Bays, has been tremendous for many school districts. And Island Harvest is another food bank that has been supportive as well. 1 to 2 times a week, we run an Island Harvest distribution site at Hampton Bays Elementary School. We don't always know when that's coming because it only comes when there's resources. And so we try to get the word out quickly. We served 40 people today. We had a site, and we were able to give them numerous meals to get them through the week. Some vegetables, some bread, some eggs. So all 3 of those organizations have been very valuable to families in getting food. Some of those families have never asked for anything before. So we're trying to get that message out that there's not a pride issue here. There's no questions asked. You pull up, you open your trunk, the resources are put into your trunk, you drive away. That's it.
Now, I know some of the food pantries have seen a tremendous surge in the number of families that are coming to those food pantries for those pickups. I think in Southampton, it's quadrupled. And likely going to increase even more. And yes, of course, they take steps to protect people's privacy. And of course, obviously to make sure that everything is sanitary, gloves and masks and all of that. Long Island Cares is a great organization. They're a food bank. And so it was started by Harry Chapin. People may remember Harry Chapin, who sadly died, but he wrote Cats in the Cradle and a lot of other really famous songs. it's still a really important organization. And they did open up a warehouse in the Hampton Bays area. And I believe they just got a donation for a freezer to keep stuff, I think from the Billy Joel Foundation,
Yeah.
another famous musician. I think everybody's heard of Billy Joel.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting too. But they're seeing more and more people on the East End. You know, people forget, they think of the Hamptons as an affluent area, but our median income is actually lower than the rest of Suffolk County. There are a lot of people here who earn their living only seasonally. So they don't have income all year round. And the jobs tend to be in the service industries, which pay less than some other industries. So we have poverty here. We have clinics that get packed in normal times. We have buses that get packed in normal times. These are not normal times. So if you don't see the line at the food pantry because people aren't queuing up now, they're coming in by car. So it's a little bit of, they've had to change their system too. But if people want to, people watching this show and they want to help, there's lots of ways to help. If you go to the town's website, we list the phone numbers for all the food pantries. There's also a new organization called AFTEE, AFTEE.org, that is giving money to all of the food pantries throughout the 5 East End towns. So if you want, and I've had to help people understand this issue. I've had people in Southampton Village who tell me, we want to help the workers, the people who trim our hedges and wash our toilets. So we want to donate to the food pantry. And I said, that's great. You should donate to the Southampton Food Pantry. But a lot of those workers that you're trying to help may live in Hampton Bays or Riverhead. So you really, if you really want to help all of the workers, you need to donate regionally. And that's really why this organization came together, this AFTI organization, to understand that we're a region and our workforce is spread out throughout the 5 East End towns, sometimes even beyond. You have people in Patchogue and other places, Mastic Shirley, who are part of our workforce. I know the town's employees, 80% of the town employees work west of the Shinnecock Canal, even though Town Hall is located east of the Shinnecock Canal. Most of our workers are living west of that point. So, we're fortunate to have these affluent communities like East Hampton or Southampton Village and other places, Bridgehampton. And we're hoping that the generosity from some of those folks will translate into helping some people throughout the region. And we're seeing that. We've already raised, I want to say $350,000 in the last 2 weeks for the food pantries. And we hope that will grow. We're trying to raise $1 million. And like you at the school doing food deliveries, we're also helping seniors. We've sort of isolated that sector and said we wanted to deliver things for seniors to make sure that they didn't leave their homes. So we've done hundreds now of deliveries to seniors, and that's through a program called ASAP, All Seniors Assistance Program. And a lot of people, we have, I want to say 1,300 seniors who are participating in the program, which is great. I mean, we're all trying to do what we can, but the world has been turned upside down, and we have to do everything differently, as certainly you're doing with this remote learning and the food deliveries, and having to adjust. It's got to be a strain. Have you had sleepless nights through this, Lars? Or?
Yeah. I went through a period of about 10 days where I seemed to see 3:37 on the clock every morning. And it would be where I did my worrying. We were waking up and getting into just a problem-solving mode. What is the problem? Let's resolve it. And as this closure moves on, a real lesson in leadership and managing, we move from crisis operations to sustainability operations. So how do we make sure that families, all of the, everything you just talked about with making sure families' basic needs are met, we're in the long term, the adrenaline has worn off, and, we're in the long term. So many people are working hard, from really important major things to getting food on people's plates to very simple things like picking up the phone and calling your neighbor who you hadn't talked to and making sure people hear a voice and connecting with one
Yeah.
another. You can go stir crazy in your house. So the human connection has become more important than ever as well, and is as important as $1 million or buses of food or
Definitely. Well, and I
continuity
have
of
two kids
learning.
at home right now too, and my daughter is on a college Zoom teleconference. She's learning remotely. My son is, when I say, have you done your homework? It feels weird because it's all
Yeah,
homework.
that's right. It's redundant now.
Everything work from home. And he doesn't like when I ask because it assumes that he might not have, that he's very responsible. So, which is great. But we've all had to make changes, and I try to get outside a little bit and get some fresh air. The town, we've kept the parks open, the beaches open, and you're blessed in Hampton Bays with incredible beaches. And I think it's an easy place to social distance. So, I recommend it. I'm trying to make sure those beaches actually stay open, but it's a great time for people to discover nature and some of the assets we have in the town. But, we will get through this, not without tragedy. We've already seen, too much tragedy, too much death involved with this. But, I do believe if we, wear those masks and the gloves and the face shields or whatever it is, and we, um, you know, don't gather in groups, and we do our social distancing, and we support our healthcare workers who are on the front line, and we donate to our food pantries, and somehow we will get through this. It's hard to find silver linings in this. Maybe the technology is one that we're getting better at technology, and that will continue to be part of our lives. Maybe we'll have a little more time at home, less time commuting, a little bit less fossil fuels used, a little bit less air pollution. Maybe there's some positive things. It's hard to see those positives at the moment in the, confronted with such a large scale pandemic. I certainly have never seen anything like
No.
this, but I'm going to stay optimistic that we'll get through this. Life will get back to normal, and we'll be stronger because of it. Some of those family connections and friendship connections will be stronger than ever. But I want to thank you for all the work. I miss coming to Hampton Bay School
I
and
know.
for the veteran ceremonies. I miss that. And you do such a great job over there, not just as an educational leader, but as a community leader. And I know that this has got to be a challenging time for you and all the school superintendents and all the teachers and all the faculty at the school. But hang in there.
Thank you. We said on the last day before we closed, this is why so many people became an educator, to help kids. And there's no more important time than to help kids. And so super proud of all the school districts in Southampton Town because they're stepping up to take care of their community.
Yeah, you're chair of the Superintendent's Association or something like that.
I'm a past president of the county association. So I sit in the old person's chair now, having done the job for 10 years. So no, we're led by Superintendent Riviker in the Quogue School District.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I knew you were involved with all the schools, which is great. Yeah. So, I appreciate you coming on, talking to the town and talking to the folks at home. Fortunately, they have to be at home. So hopefully we provide some information and some entertainment, I guess, too.
That's
so
right. Well, thank you for having me. All the best to you and the town board and the town employees. Thanks for the service.
Be safe, be well, and thank you for coming on Talk to the Town.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, thank you for watching Talk to the Town. We'll see you next time.